up, middle school and high school students, and welcome back to Floor One. We are so excited that you are hanging out with us today and tuning in online. We are in week 3 of our brand new series, What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. And we're going to be talking today about how do you make the right decision when the right decision isn't easy. I'm really excited about this message, and I think it's going to help you guys out. But before we get to that, here is some breaking, exciting news. As we head into July, which is crazy. Can you believe that July is happening in just a couple days? Summer is flying by quick, but we are in the comeback plan here at church, which is incredible because we missed seeing you guys. As you know, we've opened up Big Church at 10:30 on Sunday mornings, and so we're going to make some changes in when we produce programming for you guys, because we want you to be able to be a part of the 10:30 experience, whether that's live in person or that is at home with your families. And so we also want to be able to bring something to our middle school students who have joined this feed. And so here's what we're going to be doing. If you are a high school student, which means that you are going into the 9th grade to 12th grade, get ready to go into 9th grade all the way to 12th grade, we're going to be meeting 6 o'clock every Sunday night at McDonough Park, weather permitting. Before, when we had talked about meeting, and parents, you know this because we sent a video to you about this on Friday, but we're not going to be meeting in the gym until we've opened the entire church back up. The reasons for that are in that video. You can check it out. And so because of that, high school, we are doing live face-to-face groups, practicing social distancing, of course, at McDonough Park every Sunday night at 6 o'clock. And if you can't make it to that, or if the weather's bad and we got to call it, then we will have the content always at 6 o'clock online. So every 6 o'clock, if you're a high school student, your stuff is going to be airing on Facebook. It's going to be airing on YouTube. You can hang out with us live, or you can watch online. Now, if you're a middle school student, which is anybody who is in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, we are bringing in July. It's going to be starting the middle of July. I don't have my calendar with me, but I believe it's July 8th. It's the first Wednesday, it's the second Wednesday in July. Yes, because the first Wednesday is the first. I'm going on here. I'm live. Adam, hurry up, get on with it. The second Wednesday in July, July 8th, starting July 8th, every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, we are doing a live middle school experience. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be happening on Facebook. We encourage you to get on, watch it with your parents, watch it by yourself. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be bringing in special guests every week live. We're going to be able to answer questions with you. We're going to be doing games that you can actually play from home, and you're going to get a live message, live worship experience. You're going to get some funny things. Like, it's going to be awesome. So this is our chance to start building some relationship with you guys as middle school students as we get ready to head to the fall and start this brand new middle school program. So that's, again, recap here. What are we doing programming wise? Every single Sunday night at 6 o'clock, we are airing the high school experience online, and we're meeting live at McDonough Park just for high school students. And every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, we are doing a Facebook Live worship experience only for middle school students, okay? So that's programming, but let me take a moment and talk to you about the summer camp experience. So we've been trying to work through a bunch of different things for summer camp. Unfortunately, with COVID-19 and our efforts to be as safe as we can for you and your families, we're not able to do an in-person live summer camp experience for high school or middle school. But that doesn't mean we can't do something. So we are partnering with our friends at the Circle C Ranch. We know that you guys love Circle C, and we are jumping in on their online summer camp experience. And so I could talk to you about what that looks like. Listen, you're tired of listening to me. We're going to bring in Josh Aaron from Circle C, and he's going to tell you exactly how you can get plugged in and connected to what's happening at summer camp. So check this out.
And I want to explain a little bit all of the things that we are bringing to you this summer. Okay, so let's start out on a Monday. What does every Monday morning have at Circle C Ranch? If you guessed shootout, you're right. At 10:45 every morning, just like it was a Monday morning when you were pulling into camp, we are going to premiere a shootout for you, but not just any shootout. We have made a 7-part Western TV series called The Shootout. And every morning at 10:45, in Circle C fashion, we will release that week's episode of The Shootout. Now, if you're a Camp in a Box participant, you get early screenings of that, so whatever. Now, at 6 p.m., we are going to have Reach TV. And so it's going to be like this. I'm going to be here talking to you, But what we're going to do is we're going to update you on how the Clantons and the Daltons are doing. All of the Camp in a Box participants are going to be competing all summer, and we're going to give you updates on that. And we're going to announce what their weekly competition is, okay? So you don't want to miss that. You've got to tune in for that. And then as soon as Reach TV is over, you can scoot on over to the Circle C Ranch Media YouTube channel. We're going to post an old message from chapel. So just like a Monday night at camp, you will hear an incredible message that we recorded when people were actually here. Now let's move on to Tuesday. Tuesday at 6 p.m. we're going to have cabin devotions. And so during the summer, you would have devotions with your cabin, in your cabin, with your cabin mates. This summer you're not going to have that, but what you are going to have is you're going to be able to be a fly on the wall during a cabin devotion style discussion. And so we have a group of people that are coming in that are going to be talking about our weekly topics that carry through the whole week. Okay, so make sure to tune in for that on Tuesdays. Wednesdays at 10 a.m., our podcast about the weekly topic is going to be released on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere that you get podcasts. You can listen in on the Circle C Reach podcast. And so that will be covering that week's topic. Then at 7 p.m., this is exciting, on the Circle C Ranch Media channel as well, you are going to be able to watch a Circle C movie and live chat with the original cast. You guys are not going to want to miss that. And we're starting at the very beginning. So you're going to see 6th grade Josh in his prime. So make sure you tune in for that. Thursdays at 10 a.m., we are going to give you a sneak peek, a behind-the-scenes look at everything that's happening here at camp. We are going to give you a behind-the-scenes vlog. And so we're going to be showing you what it looks like, what's going on here, what backstage looks like, you know, all the things. Fridays at 8 p.m., this is the big kahuna. This is the big video. Every week, Friday, 8 p.m., is our Fun Friday video outreach. We are going all out. We are doing the craziest stuff that we can imagine, and we're going to present the gospel every Friday. So that's an amazing opportunity for you to share the video with your friends, and they can hear the gospel, and then you can have conversations with them about it. Okay, so make sure that you are ready for some Fun Friday. And then Saturdays. Every Saturday at noon, we're going to have a weekly recap. Just like you were at camp and your parents are coming to pick you up, we show highlight videos, interviews, it's going to be the same kind of thing. We are going to give you a recap of everything that our Camp in a Boxers have been doing. And everything that we have been premiering, it's going to be a fun video, Saturdays at noon. So, that's what virtual camp is. That's all free for you, okay? You don't have to pay anything. So make sure that you're subscribed, make sure that you're ready for all of that. And if that was like, Josh, that's way too much information, in the link below, we will have the website so that you can get the schedule of everything that is happening.
So there you go. That's what we are going to be doing over the next 7 weeks. We're going to be doing the summer camp experience that Circle C is offering. And if you want to jump in on the Camp in a Box, man, we encourage you to do that because we just think that's a great way to even do more when it comes to the summer camp experience. So listen, July is coming, and we are excited to offer these new experiences for you as a high school and a middle school student because we are getting closer and closer to the day that we can open Floor 1 back up and we can worship together and be the student ministry body that we want to be. Whew, that was a lot of stuff that we said. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Alex, if it's too much, he's just gonna edit it anyway because he's amazing. He does a great job. Give a hand clap for producing this content every single week. It is time for me to stop talking, for us to do some worship, to get our hearts and minds ready, so I can talk some more in just a couple minutes as we get into week 3's message.
God of creation, there at the start, before the beginning of time. With no point of reference, you spoke to the dark and fleshed out the wonder of light. And as you speak, 100 billion galaxies are born. In the vapor of your breath, the planets form. If the stars were made to worship so alive, I can see your heart in everything you've made. every burning star a signal fire of grace. If creation sings your praises, so will I. God of your promise, you don't speak in vain, your syllable empty your void. For once you have spoken, all nature and science follow the sound of your voice. Ooh, and as you speak, 100 billion creatures catch your breath, evolving in pursuit of what you've said. If it all reveals your nature, so will I can see your heart in everything you say. Every painted sky, a canvas of your grace. Creation still obeys you, so will I. Ooh, so will I. Oh. The stars were made to worship, so will I. If the mountains bow in reverence, so will I. If the oceans roar your greatness, so will I. For if everything exists to lift you high, so will I. If the wind goes where you send it, so will I. If the rocks cry out in silence, so will I. If the sum of all our praises still falls shy, then we'll sing again 100 billion times. God of salvation, you chase down my heart for all of my failure and pride. On a hill you created, the light of the world, abandoned in darkness to die. And as you speak, 100 billion failures disappear. Where you lost your life so I could find it here. If you left the grave behind you, so will I can see your heart in everything you've done. Every part designed in a work of art upon love. If you gladly chose surrender, so will I can see your heart a billion different ways. Every precious one, a child who died to save. You gave your life to love him, so will I. Like you would again 100 billion times. But what measure could amount to your desire? You're the one who never leaves the world behind.
So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works. What do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, there's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
All right, so the other day I was heading to the grocery store, and it was just gonna be a quick trip. It was one of those marathon days where you just get all the groceries for the week. It was one of those quick, essential trips. You know what I'm talking about. Pizza bagel bites, Cool Ranch Doritos, ice cream, that kind of trip. And so then on my way back to the car, I look down and I find a $20 bill.
We gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go. Hey, 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 hey.
I gotta be honest, at that moment, my mind just kind of went crazy with what I should do. I mean, do I just ignore it and leave it? I mean, that doesn't feel like the right thing to do, because you better believe some shady person out there might come pick that $20 bill up and just spend it for whatever they want. But then I thought, what if I'm the shady person? But I'm not really shady. What if this $20 bill is like a little gift from heaven? What if it's heaven's little $20 gift for me to take and put in my pocket and you know, take my kids out, take my wife out, do something special with the $20? And I thought, well, maybe I should just take it into the store and return it, because it's not mine. I don't want somebody to take it. This is maybe somebody's else. But if I give it to the person at the store, what if the person who dropped it doesn't come back? What if they don't even realize they lost the $20? Or what if somebody in the store maybe takes it? It was just this crazy moment where I was running through all these different scenarios of what to do. And I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like that where you have been trying to figure out what to do and your brain just goes nuts. Because obviously taking it to the manager, that's the right thing to do, right? But keeping it for myself, I mean, it's not like I'm committing some kind of major moral issue here, right? Like finders, keepers, right? It was stressful. And the reason why it was stressful is because knowing what to do, it isn't always simple in the moment. You know what I'm talking about? That's why we've been hanging out in this series over the last couple weeks called What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. Because wouldn't it be nice if the right thing was always crystal clear? Because sometimes the right thing to do isn't always obvious. Like you're dating somebody, but there's another person that you're texting. I mean, you're friends, but you're texting them a lot. Is that cheating? I don't know. Or maybe there's somebody that is your teammate and they get benched because they're not playing the way they should, but they think they're getting benched because the coach is a jerk, and that's their excuse. Well, the coach is a jerk. He doesn't like me. He doesn't see my talent. Well, you know, they don't have any talent right now. They need to get better at their game, but should you tell them? And what do you do when you have a friend who's doing something that's really, really bothering you? I mean, do you be honest with them about what they're doing? Or do you just let it go? What kind of complications are all those decisions going to be? I mean, what's the right thing to do in the moment? And I get being cautious about what decisions you're going to make, because sometimes the right thing will cost us something. You need to be honest with your parents about what's happening in your life, right? That's the right thing to do. But being honest with your parents might cost you some freedoms in your life. And you know that the relationship that you're in right now is a relationship that you should not be in anymore. Yes, I'm talking to you who is watching and listening to this. That person that you're dating, you need to stop dating them right now. But breaking up with them means that you're going to be single again and you're going to be alone. And you know that the right thing to do is to decline when somebody offers you something that you shouldn't have. But to do that means you don't get to do that thing. And maybe even worse, you might get made fun of because you didn't do that thing. You see, sometimes what's right feels really complicated. And even when you know the right thing to do, it's still difficult to do it. And so that's why we've been hanging out in Genesis talking about this guy named Joseph. Joseph is this really important historical figure in the Old Testament. And Joseph just can't seem to get out of really bad situations. I mean, for starter, he's born youngest and the favorite. And that's not his fault that his dad favors him over all of his other brothers, but it puts him in a tough situation with his brothers. And then he has these crazy dreams. And in these dreams, he's over his family. He's the leader of his family. And so he shares these crazy, wild dreams. And that just adds to the hatred that his brothers have for him. And it's not really Joseph's fault that his brothers hate him. I mean, it really has more to do with the family drama that's been happening well before Joseph even enters the scenes. But at some point, his brothers think the most rational thing to do is to kill Joseph. And so thankfully, they don't kill him. But probably what's even worse is they sell Joseph off as a slave. And so Joseph's life up to this point has been a series of really unfortunate situations where if you and I were in them, I don't know what I would do. But here's what we've discovered throughout this process is that in every situation Joseph was in, we know that through it all, one consistent thing has been true. And that consistency has been this, that God was with Joseph. And the reality is God is with you. Like, you may not be dealing with some of these things, but you're dealing with some things. And there's some issues happening in your life that are high drama and creating stress and creating anxiety. And there's some spots that you're in, even right now in this moment, where you don't know what to do. And the hope that we have and the relief and the whole point that we're doing this series is to get you to understand that no matter what you're going through, God is with you. And because God is with you, you can do the right thing. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. How do you do the right thing when you don't know how to do the right thing? And so we are going to pick up in Genesis 39. We find that Joseph is sold into slavery, and he's sold to this guy named Potiphar. Now, Potiphar is one of Pharaoh's main officials. Now, Pharaoh is like the guy in the world right now. He's head and in control of all things, and Potiphar is an important official in Pharaoh's kind of gig. And so because Joseph is close with God and because God is with Joseph, we find that Joseph is blessed in Potiphar's house, which doesn't make the situation as being a slave so bad for Joseph. So here's what it says in Genesis 39. It says, the Lord was with Joseph so that he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. And when his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So Potiphar left everything he had in Joseph's care. With Joseph in charge, he did not concern himself with anything except the food that he ate. So because of the favor that Joseph had on his life, everywhere that Joseph went, favor went, and that favor fell onto Potiphar. And Potiphar, understanding that and realizing that, is a smart man and puts Joseph in charge of many things. And because of that, life is good. I mean, here Joseph is a slave, but he's not really living that slave life. I mean, he's ahead of the whole household. The only one greater than him is Potiphar. Which is great, man, because Joseph's been having a hard run at life. The brother needs a break, but then things get weird. So we pick up in verse 6, and it says, now Joseph was well-built and handsome. Woo! And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, come to bed with me. Joseph was a hottie. Again, not his fault. You can't control genetics, people. It's not his fault that the brother is good looking, but he has attracted the attention of Potiphar's wife, and it is not good. Because here's the thing, Joseph is still a servant, and because he's a servant, he has to do whatever Potiphar tells him to do, And he also has to do whatever Potiphar's wife tells him to do. So Potiphar's wife puts Joseph in this really bad situation because by refusing Potiphar's wife, Joseph is opening himself up to false accusations and punishments that have nothing to do with who Joseph is as a man. And so that's exactly what Joseph did. He refused her. And so we pick up in verse 8, it says, "But he refused. With me in charge," he told her, "my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. You see, there's a key verse in this whole concept that helps Joseph ultimately make the decision that he needs to make. And we go back where it says, "How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" So because of Joseph's relationship with God, because of how close he was with God, because of the fact that God was with Joseph, Joseph simply just did the next right thing. Like, it was easy. He just did the next right thing because of his relationship with God, not because of what would happen to Joseph, not because of how much pressure Potiphar's wife put on him, not even of the fact that Joseph's just a good-looking dude. Like, it's just not his fault that he looks the way that he does. No, Joseph makes this decision because of his relationship with God. He made the decision based on what was right. And yes, it was complicated. It was a very complicated situation. And yes, it was challenging. But in the end, it was the right thing to do. And I wish I could tell you that Joseph makes this decision and Potiphar's wife chills and everything's okay. But man, this is just where Joseph is in his life. Right when things start to get good, things get bad. And so unfortunately, Potiphar's wife does make false accusations against Joseph. And Potiphar could have killed Joseph because of those accusations. But instead, he throws Joseph in prison, graciously sparing his life. And so there's this word that I want you to know, and it changes everything when it comes to the doing the right thing dilemma. Because listen, doing the right thing is tough. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it costs you something. And in the moment, it's hard to figure out what to do. But there is a word that if you grab a hold of it and you'd make it a part of your life, it would make these decisions so much easier. And that word is integrity. Integrity. This is what integrity means. Integrity means being the kind of person who does what's right, regardless of the outcome and regardless of whoever is around you. You see, integrity is so core and so foundational to who you are. It doesn't matter what's happening in your life. It doesn't matter who is in your life. You are going to always make a decision based off of your integrity. And that's why for Joseph, that decision to make was based solely off of his relationship with God, the most important, the most core foundational thing in his life. The only thing that no matter everything that he's gone through, no matter what he'd been through, God was always there. And I want you to think about that in your life. Think about all the things that you've been through. Think about all the people that have been around you in your life. Listen, there is nobody who has stuck with you, fought for you, believed in you, and loved you more than God has. And so for you and I, that has to be the foundation of the decisions we make. That has to be where our integrity comes from. It has to be what God wants. And so because of that, I want to share a statement with you. And if you don't get anything else from our time today, I want you to get this right here. We don't get to decide how things turn out. And that's just the truth. We don't get to decide how things turn out. I mean, there are going to be things that happen to you that are outside of your control, and there's going to be things that happen to you that are in your control. Good things happen to good people. Good things happen to bad people. Bad things happen to bad people. Bad things happen to good people. There are going to be things in your life that happen that you don't get to decide because they are outside of your control. But, and this is important, I need you to lean in. I need you to get this. You and I get to decide what kind of person we want to be. We don't get to decide the people that come into our lives. I mean, for the most part, I mean, we have choices on who gets to be in the inner circle, but the people that try to affect us, the situations that try to affect us, what's happening culturally in our life, what's happening globally, from small things to big things, we don't get to control that. But you and I, we get to decide what kind of person we want to be. And so the thing that hurts this whole integrity process is this thing called fear. You see, fear leads to inaction. And that's the number one thing that hurts us when it comes to integrity. Because listen, sometimes doing the right thing is going to get you credit and it's going to get you celebrated. But most of the time, choosing to do the right thing is going to cost you. It's going to cost you experiences. It's going to cost you friends. It's going to cost you influence and status. And it might even make you look foolish in the eyes of the people that are surrounding you. And it's in those moments that it is so easy to sell out and become the exact opposite of the person that we want to be. And this is why learning integrity is so important. And I'm going to say it again. Living a way on the outside that matches what you believe on the inside, that's the fastest way to doing the right thing. Because when you don't know what to do, just do the next right thing. Don't do what you want to do. Because, man, we're pretty messed up sometimes. Like we make stupid decisions. Don't do what you want to do. And definitely don't do what your friends want you to do. Because what's worse than one person making bad decisions is a lot of people who make bad decisions. And don't do what your boyfriend and your girlfriend wants you to do, especially in the moment. And don't do what culture wants you to do. Listen, you need to do what God wants you to do. You need to let him be the authority of your life. And you need to let him be the foundation of the integrity in your life, of who you are. Like, this is why it's so important to have a relationship with Jesus. That's why it's important to make sure that you are consistently getting in the scripture, man, and just reading the word and asking God to reveal himself to you through that. That's why it's important to spend time in prayer, to get quiet and just let God take your thoughts. That's why it's important to be connected to other people who love Jesus the way that you love Jesus, and they want Jesus to change their lives the way that you want Jesus to change your life. That's why it's important to be around positive environments that are going to help you grow in your faith. That's why it's important to serve other people so we can be reminded that life is not about us. All of those things create a foundation to help us make decisions based off of integrity, based off of a heart that just wants to do what God wants to do, even when it doesn't turn out the way that you want it to turn out. And I get that it's hard because, man, there's a lot of things on the outside that just look good. There are experiences that look like they're fun. There are relationships with people that look like they could be meaningful. There are some things that, man, it just looks like if you had that, it would complete you. But let me just give you a warning. And Scripture's going to be real clear about this. What's the point of chasing after all these things if in the end it costs you your soul? Because that's what it does. When you sell out to anything outside of what God wants for you, you are selling out your soul, man. And I've seen it. I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen students and I've seen adults make decisions that were the exact opposite of the kind of people they want to be, and then to get to the end of that road and not know who they were anymore, to not be happy with themselves, to have everything they thought they could ever want, only to be more miserable than when they began. There's a guy who's on the radio and he's written some books. His name's Glenn Beck. And I remember listening to a story where he took his kids on vacation to Europe. And they got to see all the sights in Europe. Beautiful place. But in the middle of their vacation, he took his kids, they were teenagers, he took them to the concentration camps in Europe. If you don't know what the concentration camps are the places where the Nazis brutally murdered over 1 million Jewish men, women, and children. And they tried to wipe out the whole nation. And so he took them to these camps, and they took a tour, and they saw the horrible living conditions that these Jewish men, women, and children lived in. And he saw the places where the atrocities took place and where so many of them lost their life. And towards the end of the tour, his kids were like, "Dad, why are we here? Why would you take us to this awful place and show us these things? And then Glenn Beck, he looked at his kids and he said, you know, the men who did these things to these people, it's probably not who they were when this whole thing started. Like when the Nazis started shipping the Jews out and these Nazi soldiers started gathering the people, they probably weren't the kind of guys that killed people. But then something happened as the situation changed. And in the end, they became the kind of people that did this kind of stuff. Then he looked at his kids and he said this, and this is the whole point of my story. He says, you need to figure out right now what kind of person you want to be. Right now. You need to figure out who you're going to be in any and every situation you're going to be in. Because if you don't make that decision now, when you get to that situation will decide what kind of person you're going to be. Those people in those situations are going to decide what kind of person you're going to be. So decide today. And that's my challenge for you. What do you do when you don't know what to do? You do the next right thing. And hopefully you're influenced by your relationship with God and your community with other people who believe what you believe, that helps you, even when it's challenging, even when it's complicated, even when it's going to cost you something, that you're going to do the next right thing. Because listen, your life is your life. Like, you get that, right? You get that. I mean, you've got authority over you, right? Like, you've got parents that hopefully you're listening to and honoring, and you've got, people in your life, whether it's sports, school, work, church. You've got people that have authority over you that are trying to help guide you, right? Like, there's people that are helping guide you, but at the end of the day, you make the decisions. It is your life, and your life is writing a story. Like, you get that, right? Every single one of us has a story that we're writing, and your life is telling this story, and it's based off of the values and convictions and truths that are inside of you. Nobody writes that story but you. You cannot control the things that are happening outside of you, but you get to control the kind of person that you want to be. And I'm begging you right now, choose to be the right person. Write the right story. Here's the beautiful thing about the gospel. Here's the beautiful thing about Jesus. Even though right now, maybe your story is not the story that you want. Maybe there are some things that are happening. There has been some chapters that you've been writing that are not good and not reflective of who you are and who you are to God. But here's the beautiful thing about Jesus is that, man, you can start writing a new chapter today. Right now, in this moment, you can start over and you can be the person that you want to be. Man, we can't control the past. What's happened's happened, and we have no clue what's going to happen tomorrow. But you and I, what we got is this moment right here, the present. And right now, man, the pencil and paper is in your hands. What kind of story are you going to write? Let me pray for you. God, I just thank you so much for this moment. Just thank you for the honor and privilege to be able to speak into the lives of high school and middle school students. I thank you for the freedom that we have in you, Jesus. Not only the freedom because of the cross and the empty tomb, for those of us who have given our lives to you, but for those of us who are on the fence and those of us who don't have a relationship with you, we have the freedom of choice. And that this truth today applies to all of us. Regardless of what we believe and where we are, we get to determine the kind of person that we want to be. And help us, Jesus, help us. When life gets complicated and challenging, and when the decisions are not easy, and when we don't know what to do, help us just to do the next right thing. And help us to make that decision based off of you and who you are in our life and what you want for our life, and not on anything else. God, we love you and we thank you. And we say all of these things in your name, Jesus. Amen. Well, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for hanging out with us again on Sunday. Listen, we love that you're online. We love that you are plugging in, and it is our hope and prayer that these moments we get to share are just stirring your affections and your heart for Jesus and drawing you closer to him. And we believe this week you're going to make some better decisions. Today is a great day to write a new chapter for your life and to start over. We love you, we are praying for you, and we will see you next time.